Howdy, and welcome to Booted Dudes, a Doomtown Reloaded podcast. Today, Hans and Michael are talking about the 108 Righteous Bandits, the Eagle Wardens, and the powers that be in the Great Maze. Also, just a quick heads up that our Blessed Deck competition is still running until October 14th. So if you listen to this episode at most one day after it was uploaded, go ahead and send us your Blessed Deck to booteddudes@gmail.com and win your own custom Booted Dudes playmat.
Hello and welcome to the Booted Dudes episode number 5. My name is Michael.
And my name is Hans.
Alright, let's get started. So Hans, how booted are you tonight?
Actually, again, I'm quite booted because I'm a little bit sick. But we will proceed. Anyway.
Yes.
Booted or not. Move even while booted.
So today we have a lot on our plate. There's going to be a bit of news. We're going to talk about the different factions within the Great Maze of California. And we're going to talk about our experiences with the new Immovable Object, Unstoppable Force faction pack.
Yeah, which is new to us. Actually, we only got hold of one pack.
Yes.
So we are sharing the factions. I'm with the 108 Righteous Bandits, and you are with the...
I'm with the Eagle Wardens.
Yeah,
So maybe one day there's going to be a second set available in Germany.
Yeah.
But until then, we're going to have to make do. First up, news in the Doomtown world. There is a new errata for a card, and it's Unprepared.
Yeah.
And they changed... Yeah, they changed a whopping one word.
Yeah.
So...
It's there. There is not there anymore.
No, it is. It is now.
Oh, it is now. Okay.
So, Unprepared used to read booteddude and all their attached cards and so on. They cannot use abilities. Full stop.
Mm-hmm.
And this has been changed to they cannot use their abilities.
Mm-hmm.
So, is there any difference at all?
Yeah, it is, because now it only affects the cards which were already in play at the time the card was played, and not the cards which might be played in the future.
Yeah.
So that's the big difference. So you can equip the dude with the quick draw handgun or whatever, and actually shoot the quick draw handgun.
That's correct.
So you are not that unprepared anymore if you prepare with a quick draw handgun.
Yes. Also, you're always prepared with concealed weapons.
Yeah.
There's no chance you are unprepared when you have concealed weapons, I suppose. But anyway, that's the major difference. It's both kind of fringe cases, but they might happen. And one is the quick draw. No, wait, it's the auto draw. No, quick draw handgun. No, what is it called?
Auto revolver.
Auto revolver. One of them is the auto revolver.
Oh, the quick draw handgun is not a.
Nope.
It's the auto revolver.
Yeah,
and the concealed weapon.
Because the auto revolver is a lot quicker than the quick draw handgun, as it seems. So the auto revolver has an ability that you can invent it. It's a gadget as a shootout play, and that means you can have your dude unprepared, and then you need to unboot him with a card like Mist, the Queen of Clubs, and then you can boot him again to invent the auto revolver. So that's super janky. And the second scenario is actually quite janky as well. This would involve you playing the concealed weapons card, which allows you to attach goods as shootout plays for your whole turn. And then you can attach like a shotgun or something. And you would still be able to use the shotgun after you have been unprepared and then attach the shotgun.
Okay, so but we never played concealed weapon anyway.
No, I don't think it's going to affect a lot of games, but it's good to know. Also, the light Shineth is now officially out in America and the rest of the world.
Yeah, and I think it will hit the stores in Germany quite soon.
Yes,
because you already bought it for us.
I already bought it, and I got 2 copies.
Yeah,
I'm doing my happy dance right now. Right now, the German SPIEL in Essen is taking place, and I assume as soon as all the shop owners are back at home in their shop. They are going to start shipping out the Light Shineth, and we're super psyched. There's going to be a lot more talk about the Light Shineth in our next episode.
Do you know of any Doomtown events at the Spiel in Essen?
I haven't heard of any. No, unfortunately not. Might be there is one. If there is one, we're totally sorry. Please let us know what kind of event you have been having. But I haven't heard of a single shootout tournament or something.
Actually, I've never been to a Spiel.
Oh, really? You're missing out. It's, it's just the biggest board gaming fair in the whole world. No, it's really fun. I've been there, I think, 3 times. Didn't make it last year. Didn't make it this year, obviously, because we're recording while the Spiel is happening.
Yeah. We should have recorded there, maybe.
Oh, yeah. Next year, listeners.
No, I'm not. I can't attend. I don't know. So, yeah, let's see.
Okay, and the last piece of news is Willingdone on his YouTube channel, youtube.com/Willingdone, has released reviews for both the Eagle Wardens and the 108 Righteous Bandits cards. That means all cards are covered in his videos. They are super awesome. You should check them out. So let's get on to the flesh part.
Okay.
Who actually lives in the Great Maze? There is a lot of different powers there. It's actually quite a clusterfuck. So you have, of course, the Confederate and the Union.
Okay.
So the North and the South of America. Mm-hmm. They both...
Even in the West, or?
Yeah. So usually the West is like the part of America where there is no laws yet. So they are not officially part of the United States. They are independent. Mm-hmm. But after all the Ghost Rock was found in the Great Maze, both the Confederate and the Union states had a lot of interest in that because Ghost Rock is fueling the war, because they both have those steampunky kind of ships and robots, and they all need Ghost Rock to fuel them.
Okay.
So the Great Maze is actually like one of the most central
strategic locations.
Yeah, that's it. So that's why you have Confederate and Union forces there, and they actually both have their navy fleets in the Great Maze, and there's like these big steamboats shooting at each other all the time.
Okay. Cool.
But they're not the only ones, because also there are the Rail Barons, and we're going to talk about the Rail Barons later in another podcast, because there is like literally hundreds of pages about the Rail Barons.
Okay.
They are just like businessmen who grew very rich by building rails and trains and stuff. And they also need Ghost Rock to fuel everything. So they have an interest in the Great Maze, and they actually started their own little war, which is called the Great Rail Wars, which is kind of still happening. So in the grand meta plot of Badlands Reloaded, the Rail Wars have actually concluded now.
Okay.
But when you play in the Deadlands Classic setting, that's in the middle of the Rail Wars. So there's like these different barons, and they all vie for control of the Ghost Rock in California. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of them, like I think 5 or 6 different Rail Barons. It's crazy. And then you also have the Chinese people. You also have the Mexicans for some reason, because California used to be, well, at first there was the Spanish people. Mm-hmm. And they made California kind of their colony. And then Middle America split off. So Mexico became a sovereign country. Mm-hmm. And then Mexico also took control over California. But that was like 300 years ago. That was like in the 1500s or 1600s. But still, the Mexican are one of the biggest forces in the Great Maze. So the fleet of the Mexican army is a lot bigger than both the Confederate and the Union army.
Okay.
And also the current leader of the Mexicans has some kind of voodoo assistant. So not only does he have the biggest ships, but he also has a giant undead army.
Okay.
But we're not going to talk about them a lot today as well. But I wanted to talk a bit more in focus about the Chinese.
Okay, so why is he not the boss of the Great Maze when he has this giant undead army and the giant fleet?
Well, I think he kind of is, but then there is, all these different factions, and they're all they're all fighting each other, but they're also all fighting the Mexicans together.
Ah, okay.
So I have no idea actually.
Okay.
The Chinese have come to California in 1848, because that was when the actual historical gold rush started there.
Okay.
So a lot of them came over to America because there was a lot of money to be made. The most notable place of power is Shanfan, which used to be San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
And San Francisco was destroyed in the Great Quake. For some reason, the Chinese triads have taken over San Francisco after rebuilding the city after the Great Quake. The city of Shanfan is run by this giant triad family.
Mm-hmm.
And they have a lot of operations in gambling and opium dens and all sorts of illegal activity. But also they are the actual law in Shanfan. So there you can't just go there and shoot them because they're bandits, because they are the law.
Okay.
And it works. You know, the miners are happy because the miners, you know, they dig for gold all day. When they come home, they want some opium, you know, they want some entertainment, some gambling, you know. So it works. Outside of Shanfan, there is also different warlords that are prominent in the Great Maze. And those warlords usually have an army of like people on horsebacks,
Mm-hmm.
and they just run around and raid towns for, you know, like they are like criminals do.
Okay. Like the Sloan gang.
Like kind of like the Sloan gang, but in a very grand scale.
Like the Dothraki.
Yeah, exactly like the Dothraki, I think. So the most prominent one is called Quan, and he resides in Fort Norton. And from there, he kind of has his own empire, and Fort Norton is like this walled off city at the top of a mountain. It's like, you cannot take the city. And, you know, he has a lot of ships. They're called sampans. They are like giant Chinese ships.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, the warlords even build cities on those ships. So it's like they take a lot of sampans and they throw them together with rope and...
Like a floating city.
Yeah, there's a lot of floating cities in the Great Maze.
Okay.
So the second warlord I like to talk about is Kang. Not Quan, but Kang. And Kang is kind of the pirate trope thing. Kang has 3 walled-off cities in the Great Maze that he's all operating, but also he has a giant fleet, and he's like raiding Confederate and Union ships.
Ah, okay. Wait, Kang, what was it? Wasn't this an enemy of the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles?
I have no idea. I've erased all memories of the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. It might be, I don't know.
This alien guy.
There is also from China the whole tradition of Shao-Lin.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not very familiar with the Shao-Lin story because, you know, it's a real story. It's not only Deadlands related.
Mm-hmm.
So other people probably know a lot more about it. But basically, it used to be an order of monks that were like the best fighters in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the order was destroyed by the government. So they had to like move to all the different parts of the earth, like in exile.
Ah, okay. Mm-hmm.
And some of them went to America. And they built a Shaolin temple in the Great Maze.
Mm-hmm.
And they call it the 37th chamber. And that's where everybody who's interested can learn like the ways of the Shaolin monks, like how you fight. And there's different groups of Shaolin monks that came from this temple. And one of them is the 108 Righteous Bandits.
Oh, really?
They are kind of walking the line between being warlords and being like the Robin Hood of the poor people.
Ah, okay.
So their motto is they take from the rich, they give it to the poor.
So the boss of the 108 Righteous Bandits is a warlord or not?
The 108 Righteous Bandits is not one organization. It's a lot of smaller groups of bandits, and some of them are very Robin Hood-like, and some of them are just very, very mean people. So it's like, I'm going to talk about some of their most prominent warlords or whatever. But before I say that, why is it 108 Righteous Bandits? Is it because there is 108 of them? Nope. That's totally random. 108 is just a lucky Chinese number.
Ah, okay.
So it's Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So the deck size is not 108.
Nope. No.
That would be cool.
The 108 Righteous Bandits have some operations in the Great Maze, also in Oregon, in Nevada, and even in Mexico. And they are usually on the run. They have no kind of settlements, except for the Devil's Armpit, which is a base they have in the Great Maze. And in the Devil's Armpit, one of the leaders lives, and he's called the God of Bandits. Or as the Chinese say, and I'm probably going to say this in 100 different kinds of wrong, Tou Chi Chou. That's Chinese for the God of Bandits.
Okay.
And he is not the official leader of the 108 Righteous Bandits. He is this very kind of anti-authority person. He likes to rob the big bank or the Wells Fargo and, give all the money they gain to the poor. So it's a very political thing for him. And because of that, he's very famous with the miners and with all the poor people. Mm-hmm. So when you are in the Devil's Armpit and you go and ask for him because you are the law dog and you want to shoot him, nobody's going to help you out,
Okay.
So he's very famous in his own part of the Great Maze. But then there's also others, like Hao Tezui, the Mad Monk. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's a card yet.
No.
I don't know.
No.
But he's super crazy. His band of bandits, they just run around and shoot constables and deputies, just for the fun of it. And also he's he does some magic stuff. I don't really know what kind of magic it is, but I've read that he famously cuts his own flesh and feeds it to his prisoners. And then he releases them. Okay. And it kind of does something with them, and they have nightmares after that, but I don't really know what it is.
Okay.
But he's like this kind of dark magician. And that's all I have to say about the 108 Righteous Bandits.
Okay.
I'm sorry we didn't get to talk about the Native American groups in the Great Maze, because there's also a few, but we're going to do this in another episode. But since we're talking about the Righteous Bandits already, Hans, why don't you introduce us to their faction in Doomtown Reloaded?
We played a couple of games with them so far. Maybe I'm just starting by reading the outfit. Mm-hmm. So it's the 108 Righteous Bandits. They have got 18 Ghost Rock to start with, and +3 Ghost Rock each turn. Their ability reads: Noon Boot. Move your dude to the location of one of your other dudes, without booting and even if booted. I think the ability exemplifies the abilities of this faction quite well, because it's not only one thing is movement, and the other thing is that they have abilities. Many of them have abilities where you, if you are more than one dude at a deed, you get some additional stuff. Mm-hmm. So it's basically like a grouping faction or outfit. And it fits thematically, because they are like these outlaws and they just appear somewhere, and then you try to send your hired guns after them, but they're already disappeared again, and they took all your money. Mm-hmm. I really like the theming and they are always like in a group, but this would qualify for the rest of the factions too. But they help each other out, kind of thing. In another card which fits this theme is, as I pronounce him, Dao Mei Wang. He's an ace, a 2-stud, 1 influence. He costs 2 and has an upkeep of 2. Traits are transient and Kung Fu 2. Mm-hmm. And his ability is react. After Dao Mei comes into play during high noon, move one of your other Righteous Bandits dudes to another location without booting. First of all, I think this is the first transient card which we see, which only just marks the case that it's a card when you play them that you have an instant ability kind of. Mm-hmm. It's like a mixture between a dude and an action. Yeah, but it's weird because there is some cards like Arvid Marth, the butcher from Morgan Cattle. He's like react when he enters play. You can immediately make a trade in action. Yeah, that's right. He should be transient too, maybe. I don't know.
maybe they just made up this keyword later and then now they basically changed the template. Or I don't know, maybe transient has to do with movement always? I don't know. We're going to see in the future.
Yeah, but we have got a lot of new movement cards, and my favorite cards, the horse cards. Yeah. There's no transient.
No, that's right. But maybe it's like a combination of it is a react when you play it, and it moves something on the board.
Maybe, that could be, yeah. But, that could be.
We'll see.
Well, we don't know. So this is one of their abilities, which, one of their abilities is movement.
Yeah.
The second ability is increasing the hand size. There's one card, I'm just reading out, it's a 2, it's Randall. He has 0 bullets. He's a draw, 2 influence, a Righteous Bandits dude. And he costs 4, 0 upkeep. While he reads, while Randall is at a location with 2 or more other dudes, of any players, your maximum hand size is increased by 1. So there's another card in the set, I remember his name. It's the Ultra Kung Fu guy, Bai Yang Chen. He also increases the hand size by 2. And I think this is, the big difference between the Eagle Wardens and the Righteous Bandits, that the Righteous Bandits increase the hand size, so they get additional cards in the end, in the Sundown phase, while the Eagle Wardens get a lot of cards, and if they don't play them, they got nothing in the Sundown phase.
Yeah.
In the Sundown phase. So I think this is one of the other major kind of abilities. So the last dude I would like to introduce is the Grifter, Benjamin Washington, because he's also kind of defining. He's an ace, and he's a 1 draw, 0 influence, Righteous Bandit, and he just costs 1 and has 0 upkeep. He's a Grifter, and he has the ability React Boot. At the start of the game, discard 1 or more cards from your hand. For each card you discard, 1 dude gets -2 upkeep to a minimum of 0 until high noon. Draw a card. So basically, you can recycle 1 card, and what it does is that you actually can start with all the dudes which have quite high upkeep, like low cost.
Yeah.
So it's a pretty cool idea.
Okay, so we have had one dude in there who had this kind of weird new ability called Kung Fu. How does that work? Because it's so different than everything else.
It is. Doesn't work quite well, at least not in my deck.
Oh, well, it did combo out a few times.
Yeah, and I always drew the king.
Yeah.
So how does it work? Maybe you can explain.
Okay, so basically you have a dude with a Kung Fu value, and you add your Kung Fu value to the value of your dude. So in our example, we have Dao Wei Wang. He's an ace of spades. He has Kung Fu 2. So you kind of add it up in your head. So you end on a value of 3. You play a clubs card, which is a Dao card. Those are the Kung Fu techniques that your dudes can do. And to successfully use the technique, you pull. And your pull has to be lower or equal than your dude's Kung Fu value.
And that's about it.
And by that I mean the value that is printed on him plus his Kung Fu value. So in Dao Mei Wang's case, you can pull an ace, a 2, or a 3, and you're going to be good. And then also, those Daos, in addition to doing something, they have a combo requisite.
Maybe.
That means when you fulfill the requisites, the prerequisites, then you can play another card, either from your hand or from your discard pile.
That's pretty cool.
You can chain as many cards as you want, as long as they are not more cards than your dude has in his Kung Fu ability. So when you have a Kung Fu 2 guy, it means you can play 1 initial card and then 2 combos.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
That's basically the Kung Fu mechanism. So I will introduce some of the techniques which are introduced this far. And I think we can pretty much see how it works. So there's like a basic, technique card, which is called Raking Dragons. It's a 3. It costs 0. And it's a technique and Dao of Zhu Bai Yi.
Okay.
I don't know. And,
just go with it.
And actually, the first part is technique. This means it refers to Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
And the second part is actually you can only combo cards of the same school, of the same Dao.
Oh, yeah.
And for example, Raking Dragons reads, shoot out Tao technique. If successful, choose a dude. Boot that dude and give them -2 value. And now, combo. If the affected dude has lower value than this dude. So this means one dude gets -2 value. And now you could play an additional card if you have the Kung Fu value of 1 at least.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have another Dao of Zhu Bai card in your hand or in the discard pile.
Yeah, and most of the time it's the discard pile, because the discard pile on Doomtown Reloaded, it gets loaded so fast.
Yeah, of course, yeah. So you could play another Raking Dragons and stuff like that. But you can also, there are some how do you say, some finishing techniques, which is in the case of Dao of Zhu Bai, the Zhu's Reward. It's a jack and it also costs 0. It's a technique, also a Dao of Zhu Bai. And it reads, shoot out Tao technique, boot. If successful, all opposing dudes with value lower than this dude's bullets are sent home, booted.
Yes.
You can just kick them home.
It's the roundhouse kick.
Yeah, it's the roundhouse kick, and everybody has to go home. And the thing is that there isn't the word combo on this card, so basically this is the last card you would play. Mm-hmm. There are cards where you can reduce the value, there are cards where you can reduce the bullets.
Yeah.
So
and increase your own bullets.
And increase your own bullets, yeah.
So why is this all? Because all these effects, like you increase your dude's value or you increase your dude's bullets by 1, that's all not very game changing, is it now? But they work together very well.
Yeah, because in the end you have this finishing card, like Zeus reward, where you have a condition like with value lower than this dude's bullets are sent home.
Yeah.
So that's why it is like that.
Yeah. So I really like, again, the theme on these cards, because it's like actually this intricate fighting style where you're not only, you're not just hitting people on the heads, but you do these very precise movements, and by playing different combos, you can kind of create your very own combat maneuvers. Like you can make it so that you send everybody home booted, but you can also make it so that you just lower some of those dudes' values, and then you send everybody home booted but the big boss, and then you kill him or something.
Yeah,
it's like
that's pretty cool.
It's very intricate.
Like Flight of the Lepers.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good thing. Yeah, you can really target some of the people.
Yeah, and you have full control because you decide which combos you use on whom and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's fun. It's like fighting style.
Yeah, because I would like to talk about another technique, because it introduces the next Dao. Mm-hmm. It's a Dao of the Jade Rabbit, and it's called Rabbit's Lunar Leap, and it's a 4. And it reads, shoot out Dao technique. If successful, move this dude into your posse. You may unboot this dude. Combo if your posse does not have more dudes than the opposing posse. The Rabbit's Lunar Leap lets you just jump in.
Yeah.
Unboot. It's pretty cool.
And then if you still have fewer guys, you can have somebody else jump in as well.
Yeah.
It's like, the whole clan goes like, yeah.
And it's like Rabbit's Lunar Leap. It's like a horde of rabbits.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And I think there's another in the next set.
Oh yeah, in the Light Shineth. They have one actually. But I forgot what it does, and we're going to talk about it on our next episode.
Yeah, and it's also a movement card. So I think the Dao of the Jade Rabbit is more related to movement, while the Dao of Zhu Bai is more related to fighting, kind of.
And kicking people in the face.
Yeah, maybe. So yeah, I think this will be enough for the Righteous Bandits so far. So let's talk about the Eagle Wardens.
Okay, so the Eagle Wardens are this Native American kind of faction. Their outfit card reads, Noon boot. Boot your dude at the town square to draw 2 cards. If that dude has at least 2 influence, draw one additional card. Discard or ace a card in your hand. Apart from that, it's a fairly regular 18 starting Ghost Rock, 3 production outfit card. And oh boy, is it a good outfit card.
Yeah, I like it.
So when you read ace a card in your hand, it kind of sounds like it's something really horrible. Like, what? I have to put a card out of my deck, but I want to play this card. Mm-hmm. But in reality, most of the time, when I played the Eagle Wardens, I actually aced a card instead of discarding, because it helps you degenerate your deck into a more consistent draw structure. So you can have like a weaker value or cards that are completely off value and just remove them from the deck. And it's very efficient.
And you have to ace one of the 3 you draw, or just in...
No, just one in your hand. So you draw 3 and then you choose one of the 8 cards that you now have.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's amazing.
Although, as you mentioned to me, you have to kind of control the town square for the ability.
That's the big problem.
And most of the time, 2 influence guys are not really the guys you want to send out in the town square.
And boot them there. No, definitely not.
It's pretty difficult, yeah.
So that's kind of the problem with the Eagle Wardens, because a lot of their abilities kind of want to play the slower, more controlled game, but then their outfit card and some other cards just are so aggro and so like going all out. So to talk about a few dudes that are iconic, I chose Mazatl, who was in all of my starting posses, and I never regretted it. Mazatl is a 3 of spades, 1 draw, 1 influence, Eagle Wardens dude, 3 to play and 0 upkeep. He is a Shaman 0, and he has the ability Noon, move Mazatl to a location where there is a totem. Okay, so that's a lot to take in. He's a Shaman, which luckily is not a crazy new system like Kung Fu, but it works exactly like Huckster or Blessed. And it's the final kind of spell. So you have these 3 and that's it.
Yeah.
At least, for the current plans of Doomtown Reloaded. His ability means we need to talk about another card, which is a totem. But for now, I think we can just say that totems are spells that you attach to a location instead of to a specific spellcaster. His ability is very interesting because it doesn't require him to boot. So he can be like super annoying. You just move him into an enemy deed, and then your enemy has to move somebody there who's a better shooter to remove him. And then you boot him to another enemy deed. And then your enemy moves another dude into that deed to shoot him. And then you use his Noon ability to pull him back into your own home. It's amazing. And also you can go into the town square, boot him there, just draw 2 cards because he doesn't have 2 influence. But still, you have him in the town square booted. And then when your enemy goes out there to shoot him, you move him back to your home as well. So he's a very safe character. You can always try and get him back alive. The next dude I want to talk about is Marcia Rich. She is a 4 of spades, 0 draw, 2 influence, Eagle Wardens dude, 2 to play, and 1 upkeep. And her card reads, while Marcia is in the town square, and you have more influence there than each other player, you may use controller abilities on adjacent deeds as if you controlled them.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's really bonkers. So what does it mean exactly? It means you have her in the town square, and you kind of control the town square in quotation marks, because you can't control the town square usually, but you have the most influence there. Now, this doesn't mean that your opponents lose control of all of their deeds. They can still use their deeds if you don't have your influence dude there. But if you don't do it fast enough, you can just use their deeds from remote control in the town square.
Yeah.
And every adjacent deed actually means every deed that is not out of town, because the town square is adjacent to every deed in the game, except for those out of town. And this is, again, this kind of quandary in a card, because she's a very bad shooter. She has 2 influence, so she usually would be the kind of dude you would like to keep in your home and keep her safe. But then you need to move her to the town square, and then her 2 influence synergizes with your outfit card, because you draw an additional card, and then you control everything. But then, you have a very weak booted dude in your town square and you need to protect her. So it's, again, you have this kind of problem that the Eagle Wardens always have. But I think she's also very interesting, although she's not in the current version of my deck anymore.
Okay.
And the last one I want to talk about is the Chief Stephen 7 Eagles. He is the King of Spades. He is a 4-draw, 4-influence Eagle Wardens dude. He is a Shaman 2. He costs 10 to play and has 3 upkeep. And his card reads, if your outfit is the Eagle Wardens, then Chief Stephen's cost is reduced by 1 for each card that is attached to any locations. And that counts for cards that you control and your opponent controls. So this means every totem you have or every legal instruments that your Law Dog's opponent has built or Fate Dispensers, all that reduces his cost.
Auto Cattle Feeder.
Auto Cattle Feeder, oh yes. And his ability is Noon Boot. While at the town square, Chief Stephen is worth 1 control point for each card attached to deeds you control. So he's very much your game finisher. So you have your 2 or 3 totems or something, and you move him to town square, boot him. That's probably going to be... It means come here and fight me or I'm going to win.
Yeah, pretty much.
I haven't played him actually yet, but he looks nice, you know. Whatever. Honorable mentions go to John Aces Radcliffe, who is a drifter. I'm not going to talk about all of his stats, but in essence, he is a 3-draw. But as long as you have more cards in your hand than your opponent, he's a 3-stud. And he costs no upkeep. So he's a very natural include in the Eagle Wardens, because you bloat up your hand when you go to town square, and then you have a very cheap, efficient 3-stud, and he's annoying as hell. Okay. Now, to the new mechanics. There is some spirits that work just like your hexes. You attach them to your shaman and you cast them, and most of them give you token dudes. But there is some that work different, and those are the totems. You have to attach a totem to a place that you control, so it can't be the town square normally. And totems stay there, and every shaman who is in that place can use the totem. And the 2 that stand out to me are the Spirit Trail and the Pack Awakens. Also, I think those are the only ones we have yet, but there's going to be a new one in the Light Shineth, I think. So, Spirit Trail is a 10 of hearts. It costs nothing to play. It says this location is adjacent to each other location that has a Spirit Trail attached, which is not very important. But then its ability is Noon Spirit 6 and boot. Move your dude from this location without booting and even if booted. This card basically is your spirit's version of Shadow Walk or Walk the Path. Yeah,
they're all a little bit different, but it's a pretty cool version, I think.
Although I didn't really use it a lot all of the time, it's sometimes a bit tricky.
Yeah, but as the enemy of yours, you always have to take it into account.
Oh, that's right. So I don't think we're going to have time to talk about the other totem a lot, but it's called the Pack Awakens. You can read it up online if you feel like it. And it is a totem that is able to create nature spirits, which are 2-stud tokens. And also all token dudes at the location of the totem, the Pack Awakens, gain the Herald keyword. So let's talk about these tokens. There's also spirits that create just a 2-stud nature spirit or a 1-influence ancestor spirit. And those are kind of the name of the game for the Eagle Wardens. Both of these token dudes are studs. So even the ancestor spirit who has 1 influence, he's also a 0-stud.
And so it gives you 1 bullet if there's another guy.
Yeah. So
that's pretty strong.
Usually your shaman, who is a draw maybe, together with this ancestor spirit, can wreak some havoc. I found that with those spirits, because those ancestor spirits stay for a whole day, and they have an influence, so they can actually control your opponent's deed. You create a lot of situations for your opponent where he kind of needs to remove those tokens, but then it's kind of an unnecessary risk because, they're not very good at shooting, but sometimes you just draw the lucky 5 of a kind. One of the viable archetypes for Eagle Wardens is a deck that has a very, very strong draw structure. And then it creates a lot of shootouts at random deeds that your opponent has to make to prevent himself from losing. And then just, sometimes you just kill one of his dudes. And you don't really have a risk because you can create those tokens all day long.
Yeah, you can, or because you did the spell?
Yeah, you can create one with each spell per day.
Okay.
But, the next day you just start making those again. And again, with the movement stuff, like the totem and Mazatl, you go into a deed, you create an ancestor spirit, and if your opponent doesn't want to fight you, you move your shaman somewhere else, and so you can control a lot of deeds with it. I think it's pretty strong. If you have a lot of synergies that work with your tokens. So viable options are cards like No Turning Back and Taking Ya With Me. Like it's some of the cards where you have to sacrifice your own dudes.
Yeah.
Because your tokens are dudes for all matters and purposes. So you can ace your spirit to make somebody else a stud and give them 2 bullets with no turning back. That's pretty strong. And that's the Eagle Wardens. I don't really know how aggressive they are or how passive.
We will see. I think they have some really strong effects, and we will see how issues like controlling the town square will kind of mitigate the power of the faction. Yeah, you told me before the podcast that it maybe come down to which faction you or which outfit you are actually playing. If it's a very aggressive outfit, which really take control of the town square pretty quick, then the Eagle Wardens are kind of pushed back a little.
Yeah, I think.
If not, if you can do anything with the totems and spirit things in the town square, shouldn't be much of a problem.
No, but that's true. I think the weakest matchup for Eagle Wardens, at least for my deck, is very aggressive decks like Sloan or the likes. Because if you don't control the town square, you're going to have some problems. Also, I found it kind of hard to attach totems to your opponent's deeds. It always sounds like this neat idea, but it's so hard to actually control an opponent's deed and then keep control of it. Because usually when I walk into an opponent's deed, the first thing that happens is he moves somebody else in there, regaining control immediately.
So you can't build anything.
So you can't build totems there. But if you can, it can be kind of nasty sometimes. Well, anyway, I think, any final thoughts on those 2 factions?
No, not yet, I think.
No. Well, I for one, I'm going to stick with the Eagle Wardens for now. They're kind of my favorite faction. I think with some new spirits, they can become very, very interesting.
Yeah.
It's still a problem that you only have a few different spirits and not all of them are very exciting. But, give it some time. And, the potential synergies, like I play Undertaker. So if I lose a shootout really badly with a token guy, he gets aced and I gain some money. It feels really good to do that.
Yeah, it's the win-win situation.
Yeah. So we're going to keep you updated how our further testing with those factions goes. Please feel free to leave us comments, either by sending a mail to booteddudes@gmail.com or on our brand new Facebook page, facebook.com/booteddudes, all in one word. And tell us about your experiences with the Eagle Wardens and the 108 Righteous Bandits.
Definitely, yeah, that would be cool.
In November, we have a very special episode coming, which is kind of a secret, but it's going to be fun and themed appropriately to the time of year.
Yeah. Actually, today I was, cutting some pumpkins with the kids.
No.
So we have 2 pumpkins.
Major spoiler. All right.
So just to remind everybody which time of the year it is.
Yeah. And we'll see you next month.
Yeah.
And have a good time until then.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this podcast. Please send in your feedback to booteddudes@gmail.com. We will read out your questions or comments on future episodes. Music used with kind permission from Wellbad. You can find his music on Spotify, www.wellbad.de, or facebook.com/wellbadmusic. If you like our podcast, Please subscribe to it on iTunes and or write an honest review, ideally with text, because it helps other people find the show online. We'll meet again tomorrow at high noon.